Welcome to the writer's review of For We Are Many by Dennis E. Taylor. We'll start out the review as always with the main spoiler-free section and then move on from there. This video does include spoilers from the previous installments in the series, so if you're watching this video out of order, I do suggest you follow the link in the top right hand corner of the screen to my first review in this series. As I've already mentioned, For We Are Many is the second installment in the Bobiverse series, and there have been no new installments in this series since my last video. I have found out that 2 more sequels are in the works for some time in 2020, but there's no concrete information for either their exact titles or their release dates. Focusing back on For We Are Many, you'll find that not much has changed in terms of genre or storytelling, so if you enjoyed the series thus far, there's a good chance you'll enjoy this installment as well. That isn't to say that nothing has changed, since this novel does introduce a new subgenre to the series. The story itself also picks up without any real pause after the conclusion of the first book. The main plotlines which continue on into this sequel are Bob 1 and his Deltan civilization, Riker's evacuation of Earth, and Milo's newly discovered alien threat. Of course, new point of view Bobs do get introduced, one of which is directly connected to the setup of the new human colonies on Romulus and Vulcan, and this character plays a major role until the end of the series. In terms of subgenres, the action, drama, and world building continue to be the foundation on which the novel is written. The world building continues on more or less the same as in the first book, while the action is confined more to the land combat sequences. In regards to Bob's Deltan civilization, there are a few space combat encounters, but these are far fewer in number than in the first installment in this series. The Earth continues to be the main source of drama-focused chapters, with perhaps an increase in complexity of the individual political plots. Naturally, the newly established human colonies take a close second in this category, followed by everything that happens in between the individual Bobs. As far as the other less prevalent subgenres are concerned, the comedic, historic, and philosophical elements stay more or less the same. A new romance subplot does get introduced with one of the new point of view characters, although because of its deliberately slow implementation, this only really applies to the latter half of the novel. There's also a psychological element to this novel, in the shape of a short but quite intense section at the center of the book. It happens right after a twist in the plot, when things take a rather abrupt, dark turn, and it's probably the grimmest section in this entire series. In terms of other noteworthy characteristics, the pop culture references do continue on from the previous book, and there are a couple of big boom events, so explosion lovers rejoice. The bashing of the theocratic leadership also continues on, but only in the first half of this novel. And for the audiobook listeners out there, I have to mention that some sections of the audiobook have been patched up, so if you're listening, you might notice a small discrepancy in the audio quality from time to time. It's not a really big deal, and it's really something that you'll notice if you're really paying attention, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. In conclusion, the book is available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook versions, as well as a hard copy collector's edition. I feel that this is an excellent sequel, since it does the same things as the previous book did so well. Since this is a sequel, the amount of ratings is lower overall, but they stay more or less the same. The book falls in the 90,000 word range, and the audiobook is 9 hours long. In terms of price, the ebook version is the cheapest by far as usual. If you have to have the audiobook version, I do suggest you make use of the WhisperSync deal on Amazon because it's the most cost-effective by far. Just in case the prices change in the future, I will leave Amazon links down below in the description. That wraps up the spoiler-free section of this review, and we'll be going into the lesson section of this video. If you have any intention of reading this novel, I do suggest you click off the video now. The lessons on action, drama, and the historic elements carry on from the last book, so I won't bore you with the same information here. One of the new things I would like you to pay attention to is how the author handled the implementation of a completely new subgenre into an ongoing series. So thus far, the books have been a hardcore sci-fi series without a hint of romance. Also, both Howard and Bridget, the main characters involved in this romance plot, are newly introduced characters with this installment, further complicating matters. The author could have easily started this subplot with a simple love at first sight cliché, but that abrupt a change in theme would, in my mind, risk the audience feeling that these sections were added in to serve as padding for the novel, or that the author added them in only to self-indulge. Instead, he avoided this problem by making the introduction of the two characters a direct result of Howard's efforts to help the colonies, and second, by delaying the romantic aspect of the relationship, firstly with Howard's inaction, and then second with the love triangle with Bridget's future husband. As a result, the romance plot itself really comes into effect later on in the novel, by which point the readers have already grown fond of the two characters, and as a result of this slow progression, the readers don't find this change in theme so bothersome. Another noteworthy thing is how the author goes about humanizing the Bobs as a collective. With the last quarter of the first book, they start dealing with larger-than-life problems, such as the exodus of Earth, the terraforming of planets, and the Others threat, and even start to distance themselves from humans because of their immortality. But once you have these larger-than-life main characters in the story, it can become more difficult for readers to relate to them, and the author counteracts this by having both Bob and Howard go through heartbreak in the form of rejection and Bob's banishment, and the author also humanizes the Bobs by having all of their interaction be as human-like as possible through their collective VR. That wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed and found it informative. Please leave a like and a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.